The blind stares of a million pairs of eyes, looking hard but won't realize that they will never see.
The puppetry must stop! We are for real around here. The trillest sports talk show in America. The Doug Stewart Show. Yes!
Five, four, three, two, one.
Welcome to the Doug Stewart Show. This is a Tight to Death Tuesday. And thank you so much for joining your boy. I really do appreciate it. Yes. This is a Tight to Death Tuesday. And a packed show for you today, man. A lot of stuff going on the Doug Stewart Show. Thank you so much for joining your boy. I really do appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody in the chat room already getting in there. My man Griff, Rel Scott, Jungle Brother, Dat Ninja. Thank you so much for joining your folk. Thank you. All right, so like I said, we got a packed show. We're going to talk to the great Bruce today. That's right. Let Bruce hit it. Yeah, and Bruce is what I would consider Atlanta royalty, and we'll talk more about that in a second. We're also going to talk about what are your thoughts on storming the court. What are your thoughts on Alex Rodriguez making his first appearance in a Yankee uniform, practice uniform, I guess you'd call it. The Raiders and Chargers. I've been trying to talk about this Raiders and Chargers thing for a couple of days and just hadn't had the chance to do it, but I will get into that. Tiger Woods got a legend talking about him. What else are we going to get into? A little combine talk as well, still lingering. And Marshawn Lynch is in the news as well. The number to the show is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedugstewartshow.com. So, as I mentioned, we're going to have on Bruce. And for people outside of Atlanta, we have a huge audience outside the city of Atlanta, okay, basically from all over the world. And so we're going to have on Bruce. He's a comedian extraordinaire, but he's from Atlanta. He's from ATL. All right, he's from the Bluff, actually, which is a part of the city where a lot of people kind of has this reputation of being like one of the toughest parts of the city. So Bruce is coming on. He's made his fame in comedy, and you've seen him on all the little comedy shows on BET, TV One, all them black networks. And so he's kind of got a name. And when people think of Bruce, they kind of think ATL, So today, Top 5 Tuesday, a Tight to Death Tuesday, I'm going to give you and tell you who I think the top 5 faces of Atlanta are, okay? The top 5 faces in ATL. Now, here's the thing about it. I was kind of struggling on whether I would make them or the list that the people that I chose for the top 5, did they have to be native Atlanta, or could they just be known for being in Atlanta? And so most of them that I got on my little list here, they are native Atlanteans, or ATLians. I don't even know how the hell you say that name for people from Atlanta. But one guy or a couple people, I think, may not be from the city, or they aren't from the city. So we'll talk about that throughout today's show and have a lot of fun with that. And I'll get your thoughts on that as well in the chat room on Spreaker.com. And you can hit me on the chat room on Spreaker.com at The Doug Stewart Show. Make sure you follow the show on Spreaker. All right? You follow the show on Spreaker, and then jump on the chat and be totally interactive with The Doug Stewart Show. I mean, totally interactive. We big on being interactive around here on The Doug Stewart Show. As well as make sure you follow the group on Facebook, and you tell people about it. Tell at least one person about the Doug Stewart Show, and I really would appreciate it. All right? The number is 404-382-0338. Once again, the number is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedugstewartshow.com. So last night, Kansas State, they beat Kansas in an interstate rivalry, I guess you would call it. And I'm just going to throw this question out there for you and get your thoughts and your sentiments on what we saw last night. But the big story is Kansas State wins the game, 70-63. They've only beaten Kansas like 3 times out of the last 50, some crazy-ass stat like that. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. So what do the fans do? They storm the floor. I mean, that's what fans do. That's what college basketball fans do, and students in particular, is they storm the floor. So today I wake up and it's all of this hoopla about, they shouldn't do it, and Bill Self of Kansas says that, they should stop it, that it's ridiculous. And my question, and I'm just going to throw out there, is why? Like, there's nothing really happened in history that says, somebody's going to get hurt. An argument from Bill Self and a lot of people, when you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, is somebody's going to get hurt. Well, that may be. A lot of things may happen, but until it has happened, why is it such a big deal? Or do you agree with this guy? Do you agree with a lot of people that are out there? And I told you a lot of times in the morning I'll cut on Mike, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. And Mike Greenberg is basically saying that they should stop. And he agrees with they should stop letting the students storm the floor after a big win. And he actually talked about how when he was a college student, they actually did it. So it sounds kind of hypocritical because now he's saying they shouldn't. When you get old, you get lame to a large degree. When you get older, a lot of the things that you used to do, you think were cool, you thought were cool, you get lame, and you're more careful. And so a lot of the things you used to do aren't cool anymore, and you see why you shouldn't do them. I don't have a problem with storming the floor. And this is almost like tradition. It's almost like it wouldn't be college basketball if an underdog beat a higher seed or a nationally ranked team, and its students at a home game couldn't storm the floor. So what are your thoughts on that? And I think it's kind of like people are kind of like tying in, I think, and the only thing I can think of where you had kind of a melee-like situation, well, it's 2 things. One is you go all the way back to Rudy Tomjanovich and Kermit Washington when there was a fight between the 2 teams, and Kermit Washington straight decked Rudy Tomjanovich. I mean, broke his face. He literally broke his face. And then the other thing was the Palace, the melee at the Palace at Auburn Hills between the Pistons and the Pacers. But that was 2 teams. So I don't know, or maybe you can give me reference to something that's happened in the past in college basketball or in basketball, period, where fans, interacted from a rushing of the floor and hit the opposite team and a fight broke out. I can't think of anything. I understand where they're coming from, but when have we stipulated such a vast change in the culture of a sport well, before it's happened? And okay, I guess you can see it happen. You can see a lot of things happening, but until they happen, do we give that much credence to it? I don't know. I just don't like the idea. Until something happens, and yes, that one time will be bad. It will be bad if something were to happen, but guess what? They've been playing college basketball for over 100 years, and I don't recall anything bad happening to the opposing team, to the team, to the home team, to the fans, anything. I can't. And they storm the field in football, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. And they used to storm the field in football. They used to pull down the goalpost, and now you can't really do that anymore because I think somebody got hurt by a goalpost being pulled down. Now I understand that. That's an inherent hazard. I get that. I get that. I'm not saying that fans shouldn't be able to storm the football field, but even lesser to a degree in basketball, they aren't pulling down the basketball goal. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because I guess I'm a traditionalist, and I like tradition. And if you take away storming the court in college basketball, it seems like you're taking something away from the tradition and from the culture. Am I totally wrong? Is there somebody out there in the chat line that can change my mind? And my mind can be changed. My mind can be changed in anything, any sports-related or guy talk discussion. It can be changed. But I've kicked this around in my head many a times, and I don't like the idea of just stopping the students from storming the court. maybe you can tweak some things. I don't know. Tell me on the chat line on Spreaker.com, as well as if you like, you can give me a call at 404-382-0338. When we get back from the break, Alex Rodriguez does something smart. Kind of like the first time in a long, long time. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get back. Storming the court, what are your thoughts? And the top 5 faces that represent ATL. Bruce coming on a little bit later. Don't go away. The Doug Stewart Show. Fantasy sports fans are winning huge cash prizes every day at DraftKings.com. America's favorite place to play daily fantasy sports. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Just pick your sport and draft your team. It's like a new season every time you play. So, you're never stuck with the same players. Last year, $300 million were won at DraftKings.com, and you could be next to win big. Go to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code STU to play for free. That's STU for free entry now at DraftKings.com. Also, if you use promo code STU, DraftKings will match your initial deposit up to $600. Deposit $600, play with $1,200. DraftKings.com, promo code STU. The Doug Stewart Show. Everybody's different, man. And this really takes you back to my number one question. Okay? This wouldn't even be a topic of conversation. Larry Foote and all of his other detractors, Marshawn Lynch's detractors, wouldn't even have to even make comments and give commentary like this about how he's showing kids that you don't have to respect authority. He wouldn't even have to do this. They wouldn't even have to make these politically correct statements if the press would just stop putting a microphone in front of this dude's face. There would be no reason to have a discussion, a geopolitical discussion about Marshawn Lynch and his effect to society and to kids and their thinking on authority if the media, who are all sensible people, would stop putting a microphone in front of his face.
Attention Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. Current prices average between $25 and $35 per pill. Are you searching for an alternative to the high prices you now pay for brand name drugs? We're providing U.S. consumers a low-cost alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for $99 with incredibly fast shipping times. Our phone staff is available right now. And did we mention that shipping is free? Call right now to take advantage of this special offer. 855-781-3847 with discreet home delivery and 100% satisfaction guarantee. What are you waiting for? Call for an affordable alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for only $99. Call 855-781-3847. Speak to a rep about getting a discreet shipment to your home and start saving a ton of money. Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. You can't afford to not call 855-781-3847.
Welcome back to the Doug Stewart Show. This is a Tight to Death Tuesday. We got the great Bruce coming on, my folk. A little bit later in today's show, he's kind of like ATL royalty. He kind of says ATL. And shouts out to everybody that's listening worldwide, outside of Georgia, outside of Metro Atlanta. And I say it all the time. I mean, the show is worldwide. I mean, we're big time. It's not just Atlanta, but Atlanta is very special. It's very special, man. I moved here in 1994. And, man, I have just really, really loved my experience here in this city, man. This is my adopted hometown, I call it. Like the great Ric Flair calls Charlotte, North Carolina, his adopted hometown. I really love the ATL, man. So sometimes we do Atlanta-centric things. And today we thought it'd be kind of cool as a staff to talk about faces of Atlanta. Like when you think of this person, you think Atlanta. And my list, man, I got a list. I got a fantastic list. But not only is the list of the top 5 great, but the honorable mentions are great as well. And there's a lot of people on my honorable mentions that you didn't even know were from Atlanta that's going to shock you when I talk about them a little bit later. But we'll talk about my top 5 faces of Atlanta here in a second. I'll kind of give you some reasoning on why they made my list. This segment is brought to you by Meds from Nature. They sell the top natural medicines with no side effects, and they're also FDA regulated. unlike supplements or herbs over the counter. All right, this stuff is regulated, man. It's real serious. Use the promo code SPORTS and get an extra 25% off your order from medsfromnature.com. All right, so hit them up. That's medsfromnature.com, 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Alex Rodriguez reports to Yankees spring training in Tampa early, 3 days earlier, and which was a pretty smart move. You know, he missed the entire season last year. The Yankees wanted him to speak to the fans and to make a statement about this. And so what A-Rod did, and I'm sure that him and Yankees brass probably came up with this together, is he'd come early to spring training before the other regular players show up and get a lot of this, media stuff out of the way. And he said all the right things, which, is easy to do at this point because he's pretty much been lying over the last couple of years about his steroid use and performance-enhancing drugs. So came in, was approached by the media after he worked out, actually coming into the stadium as well, and was very transparent, I guess, for the most part. I guess the best that you could explain Alex Rodriguez as being, because he's been very secretive. He's been lying about a lot of stuff over the last couple of years. That's been well chronicled. And I think this was smart to get this out of the way and kind of, knock down on the spectacle that it would have been, or that the media frenzy would have presented once the regular players came. So you don't want any distractions. So all this thing was a way to avert distractions, all right? And that's something that the Yankees had made a point that they didn't, and that the issue that they have with A-Rod over the last couple of years is he's just a big distraction. And not only are they paying him a ton of money, he's owed $60+ million over the next, I think it's 3 years, but he's a big distraction in all of this stuff, and Balco and lying and performance-enhancing drugs. It's not good for the Yankees organization and for the team as a whole, and I totally get that. So we'll see. I don't know if you can believe dude and anything that he says. I don't think that you really can. I think he's proven that you shouldn't believe anything that he says. If he goes out right now, and the question, I guess, and the thing that I guess people are talking about and Yankees fans are talking about in particular, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, is can this guy play? Is this guy going to be able to hit a fastball? Is he going to be able to man that DH spot? And I remember when they did this deal for A-Rod, what was it, like $250 million for 10 years? You can look at it by the math and say, wait a minute, man, the last couple of years of this thing, he's not going to be worth it. Now, at the time, the thought was is he's going to pass some of these home run records. This is a guy that may be able to pass Barry Bonds' record as far as home runs, or Hank Aaron, whoever you choose to call a home run king. But ever since the steroid stuff and the scandal, all of that's out the window because they don't mean anything now. His home runs and stats don't mean anything. So it's funny to me, as a guy that's not really a Yankee fan, respect the organization and the team. It's really funny that we looked at this when it first started, when the deal first happened, and he signed the deal to come to the Yankees from, at that time, the Texas Rangers. And we said, man, this is a risky-ass deal right here. I mean, this is real risky based on his age at the time this thing is going to come to a conclusion. So we'll see how that plays out this year. It's a train wreck. And it's like the train wreck mentality on, is he going to be serviceable? Is he a guy that's going to help the team? Or is he just going to be a bust? And is it going to be money wasted on Alex Rodriguez? So what are your thoughts? If you're a Yankees fan, what are your thoughts on A-Rod playing for the Bronx Bombers this year? Do you think he's going to help? And do you are you happy that he's back? Because, I mean, he is Alex Rodriguez. He is a story. He does keep your team kind of on the front page. He's a guy that people just conversate about till the cows come home. So it is kind of interesting from a standpoint of having something to talk about, interesting in baseball, because baseball isn't the most exciting sports there is out there. I mean, everybody knows that. But Alex Rodriguez and controversy, I think, is good. It's definitely good for my business. All right, the number is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. You can also hit me on the chat line on Spreaker.com. All right, so the top 5 faces from Atlanta or representing Atlanta. Let me say that because I really struggled on whether I was going to make it. You had to be native Atlanta. And then I thought about it. I was like, man, some of the people on my list, even though they aren't from Atlanta, they're identified with Atlanta. Like, they are Atlanta. If you say their name, you think Atlanta. So number 5 on my list comes in at the great CeeLo Goody. That's right. CeeLo Goody, obviously, originally with the Goody Mob as a rapper, and now he's this world-renowned artsy-type singer. I think he won a Grammy for FU, and he's big. Like, CeeLo's brand is huge, okay? I mean, his brand has crossed over so much that it's incredible that this guy who really, when you talk about Goody Mob is really a big-time Atlanta thing because, most of those guys, I think all 4 of them are from Atlanta, Southwest Atlanta. But CeeLo's brand has grown so much over the Goody Mob, or so much bigger than the Goody Mob, and he's still got love for him. I think they were actually touring this past summer, and he always shows love at his concerts. But his brand is just big, and when you think CeeLo Goody from the Goody Mob, you think Atlanta. So he makes my list at number 5, the great CeeLo Goody. And tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me what your thoughts are on this as well. We're going to have Bruce on a little bit later today on the show, and Bruce definitely says ATL. I mean, he definitely does. I can tell you right now, he didn't make my list of top 5 just because there's been so many big stars to come out of ATL that has a much bigger national brand. Now, Bruce was definitely in my honorable mention, but he didn't make my top 5, and when I throw out some of the names, you understand why. But so in honor of that, we're going to talk about the top 5 faces or the top 5 people that represent ATL. Yeah, when we also talking about these sports, you can hit me on the Spreaker. I'm going to read a lot of your chat here in a second. If you're new to the show, we do have a lot of new listeners, all right, to the Doug Stewart Show, because we're always doing marketing. We're doing some social network marketing, like on Facebook and on Twitter or whatever. So people that didn't know I was doing the show, they're getting introduced to it on a daily basis. So a lot of times we do have a lot of new people that listen to the Doug Stewart Show, and I really appreciate it. If this is your first time, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And continue to pass the word. Tell people about it. Trust me. I mean, we off the chain around here. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. talking about sports, Stu Style, which is very unique. Yeah, you won't hear sports talk like this and keeping it real like this nowhere else in America. Nowhere else, Jack. In the great words of Ric Flair, you will not hear it like any place else. All right. So CeeLo comes in at number 5. This is the Doug Stewart Show. 404-382-0338 is the number to the show. Also, man, while I got the chance, before we jump to a break here, man, continue to pray for the great Anthony Mason. Yes. Word is from his family that he's doing a lot better. Now, I think from reading the articles that he's not totally out of the woods yet, and if you didn't know, he had congestive heart failure a couple weeks ago, and they were basically saying that this guy was probably going to check out, that he was going to be knocking on heaven's door. But it looks like he's had a turn for the better, and I saw a couple of comments from his son saying that he is doing better. He's actually not still able to talk, but he's doing a lot better. He's doing a whole lot better, and they're thinking that he's going to be able to pull through this thing, and that's just a blessing, man. Who says prayer doesn't work? I mean, who says prayer doesn't work? It does. It truly does, man. So get well to Anthony Mason, man. You talk about a guy. I'm talking about the faces of Atlanta. You talking about a face of the New York Knicks during that era where they kind of had things cooking. And you know me, I guess I'd be qualified or quantified as a New York Knicks hater. But, yeah, when they had Patrick Ewing and John Starks and those guys and Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley and those guys, they were pretty solid. I mean, they were right there in the thick of things every year. The problem is that they played during the era of Michael Jordan. Once again, like a lot of teams during that time, I talked about the Portland Trailblazers a couple of days ago and Jerome Kersey. But, yeah, they came during the wrong era. Like, you just came through a horrible, horrible era, and a lot of guys can make that statement. A lot of teams can make that statement as well. You talk about the Utah Jazz with Karl Malone, Portland with Jerome Kersey, even Barkley with the Phoenix Suns. They had some tough teams during that era, and the Knicks are included in that conversation as well. They just came during the wrong period of time, of history. They did. It's as simple as that, because nobody was going to win championships when Michael Jordan was playing at his height. So, yeah, during those era of Knicks teams, they were very, very solid. Never won a championship. Didn't even make it to a finals. Had the opportunity to go to a finals and missed layup by Patrick Ewing. Yeah, missed bunny by Patrick Ewing. But solid teams, and Anthony Mason was a huge part of those teams back then. So prayers, continue to pray for Anthony Mason. All right, when we get back from the break, we can talk a little bit about Tiger Woods, man. Tiger Woods, he's got a blast from the past. Keeping it real on him. And you don't want to miss this conversation, all right? Don't go away. This is the Doug Stewart Show. Fantasy sports fans are winning huge cash prizes every day at DraftKings.com. America's favorite place to play daily fantasy sports. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Just pick your sport and draft your team. It's like a new season every time you play, so you're never stuck with the same players. Last year, $300 million were won at DraftKings.com, and you could be next to win big. Go to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code STU to play for free. That's STU for free entry now at DraftKings.com. Also, if you use promo code STU, DraftKings will match your initial deposit up to $600. Deposit $600, play with $1,200. DraftKings.com, promo code STU. The Doug Stewart Show. Everybody's different, man. And this really takes you back to my number one question. Okay? This wouldn't even be a topic of conversation. Larry Foote and all of his other detractors, Marshawn Lynch's detractors, wouldn't even have to even make comments and give commentary like this about how he's showing kids that you don't have to respect authority. He wouldn't even have to do this. They wouldn't even have to make these politically correct statements if the press would just stop putting a microphone in front of this dude's face. There would be no reason to have a discussion, a geopolitical discussion about Marshawn Lynch and his effect to society and to kids and their thinking on authority, if the media, who are all sensible people, would stop putting a microphone in front of his face.
Attention Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. Current prices average between $25 and $35 per pill. Are you searching for an alternative to the high prices you now pay for brand name drugs? We're providing U.S. consumers a low-cost alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for $99 with incredibly fast shipping times. Our phone staff is available right now. And did we mention that shipping is free? Call right now to take advantage of this special offer. 855-781-3847 with discreet home delivery and 100% satisfaction guarantee. What are you waiting for? Call for an affordable alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for only $99. Call 855-781-3847. Speak to a rep about getting a discreet shipment to your home and start saving a ton of money. Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. You can't afford to not call 855-781-3847.
Welcome back to the Doug Stewart Show. This is a Tight to Death Tuesday. And thank you for joining your boy. I really do appreciate it. I'll read a lot of chat here, man. Thank you so much for being interactive and in the chat. Yes, sir. I mean, that's what makes this show totally different from all the other lame-ass sports talk shows in America is we're totally interactive, man. So I'm going to read a ton of your chat here in a second, and, that's what we'll do. We're also talking about Alex Rodriguez. I talked about storming the court. What are your thoughts on that? What happened last night between Kansas and Kansas State? What are your thoughts on that as well? I also talked about Alex Rodriguez. If you're a Yankees fan, what are your thoughts about A-Rod going forward? You owe him $60+ million. You do. So what are your thoughts if you're a Yankees fan in particular? And a little bit later, man, don't forget the great Bruce Bruce coming on. Yes. Let Bruce Bruce hit it. One of the greatest lines in hip-hop history, the great Too Short. Let Bruce Bruce hit it. So he'll come on, and we're going to reminisce. I wanted to bring him on, first of all, just to catch up because he's good people. He's our folk. But also, we were talking about top 5 comedians of all time a couple of days ago, and a lot of y'all got mad at me. So I'm going to ask Bruce Bruce about his top comedians of all time, find out what he's got going on. I also want to talk to him about Kevin Hart. And I saw an interview that they did on The Breakfast Club online. Somebody posted it on Facebook. And The Breakfast Club, they do a national syndicated radio show in New York. Charlemagne the God. I think the young lady's name is Angela Yee. And I can't remember the other dude's name. But they're syndicated here in Atlanta as well. But they interviewed Mike Epps. And Mike Epps, basically, the conversation was about Kevin Hart. And evidently there's some type of talk out there that Kevin Hart doesn't write his jokes, that he has like a staff of writers. And Mike Epps kept it real about that. He didn't want to diss Kevin Hart because, they kind of got this like beef going on back and forth. They had at one time on Twitter where they were like joning each other. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. So if you heard that interview, he didn't diss Kevin Hart, but he kind of said some things that were kind of critical of Kevin Hart. So I want to ask Bruce Bruce a little bit later today on the show, in the second hour of the show, about that Kevin Hart talk. Like, do comedians respect Kevin Hart? Because from what I understand, this is true. He actually has writers for him. Now, you could look at it, and I didn't even mean to get into this whole tangent about Kevin Hart, but you could kind of look at it as Kevin Hart's an entertainer and somewhat of an actor. And actors have writers. And sketch comedy shows, they have writers. They have a staff of writers. So is it kind of, what's the best word I could use for it? Unethical for a comedian to have somebody else write his jokes? And then Mike Epps made a real great point about it on why there's a conflict. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll tell you what he had to say if you didn't see that video. But he made a very good point. And I can tell you right now, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, let me just tell you right now, what Mike Epps was saying is, it's cool if you have writers, but the problem with writers is, for a comedian, is that writers, they go to comedy shows, and they'll see an up-and-coming comic, and the comic will make a joke, and the writer will take the joke, basically saying, this guy, he's good, but he's not going to blow up. He's not going to be on a national level, so nobody's going to see him do this joke. So I'm going to take, in effect, steal the joke from this up-and-coming comic and give it to Kevin Hart. And that's what Mike Epps was saying. And Kevin Hart doesn't know that the joke was stolen, but that's kind of the way that it works. And it was a very interesting point that he made talking about Mike Epps, because I never thought of, because I had heard this whole conversation about comedians using writers before, but I never thought about it like that. But that makes total sense. Yeah, I mean, if you're a writer and you go to a little hole-in-the-wall comedy club, every city has them, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, and you snatch somebody's damn joke, which there's a big taboo about stealing another comedian's joke in the comedy industry. And I've heard that enough from a lot of comedians. We used to have comedians on the show every Friday on the Two Live Stews, kick it with a lot of them, play golf with a lot of them. So we've heard that conversation. Like, you just don't do that. That's like an unwritten rule, is you don't take another person's joke. Now, a lot of times the jokes kind of are similar, and I mean a lot of the same funny things and funny experiences people have, I guess they can talk about it, but there's certain jokes that comedians are known for, so there's this culture of not stealing jokes. So I thought that was very interesting, so we're going to try to chop it up a little bit with Bruce Bruce a little bit later on today's show about that. You're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. The number is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. This segment is brought to you by System 5 Electronics. They're proud to offer my listeners in the Atlanta area the most affordable home security monitoring systems featuring smart solutions. All right, I mean, System 5 got everything you need as far as a security alarm system, everything that you will ever need, all the latest technology. They're the bomb. My man Vern called in yesterday and talked about the great Maceo Brown and how they've been doing it for over 25 years. And one of the biggest, most established companies in the city of Atlanta. And they're good people. Like, I only do business with good people. And System 5, man, they will take care of you. If you ever got a problem, call up there and tell Maceo you got an issue and that you listen to the Doug Stewart Show, and he'll take care of you quick, fast, in a hurry, okay? So check them out online. The phone number to give them a call if you want to call them is 404-756-0736. But check them out online. That's probably the easiest way at System5electronicsinc.com. Once again, that's System5electronicsinc.com, and tell them that the Doug Stewart Show sent you. Yes, sir. All right, let me read some of this chat, kind of based off of some of the stuff we talked about earlier today on the show already. From my man Juan Cruz. He says, Mike Greenberg is a chump to be nice. Harvey Scott, Doug, I don't have a problem with the students storming the court or the field after the team wins a championship, but not a regular season win. Now, that's a totally different discussion. Like, you know, if you're a team that hadn't done a lot and you get a big win over a top 2 or 3 team in America and the students just aren't used to prosperity, they're going to storm the court. So, yeah, if you're in North Carolina and you're Duke and you win a game in college basketball, chances are your students aren't going to storm the court. I mean, they're just used to it. Where storming the court comes from is a team in basketball or football that traditionally hadn't been very good. They traditionally don't beat said team that they beat that night, and that's when students storm the court. So, I mean, it's all relative from that ninja. If they don't want a player being celebratory on the court, they damn sure don't want to see the entire student body for it. Some people are just uptight and don't like any break of the norm. Yeah, KC, the media has a 15-minute cooling off period before entering the locker room. When a ranked team loses and some punk fan from the opposing team starts talking junk, he might get knocked the F out. Now, that's true. That's something that could arise, but here's the thing. It happened to rise in 100-plus years. I can't recall any story of a fan talking smack to an athlete where athlete punches him in the mouth. I mean, maybe it has happened, but I think if it had happened, they would have already stopped storming the court. So I'm very confident that scenario hadn't happened yet. And I just think it's college basketball. From OG Dion. Too many fights, people get trampled storming the court. Who gets trampled storming the court? When does that happen? I don't remember that happening. From Sluggo. Last year, fans stormed the court in New Mexico State and Utah Valley game. A big-ass fight ensued, and he's going to send me, and he actually sent me a link to it, so I'm going to take a look at that. I don't remember it now. If that's the case, I go back to the question that I had a couple of minutes ago. If this has happened, why hadn't the NCAA universally stopped it? Okay, because I think if somebody was hurt, if somebody was actually trampled, if there was a melee started because of this, and I'm not doubting what you say, Sluggo, I just don't remember this particular instance which you're talking about New Mexico State and Utah Valley State. If something to that degree had happened, I think the NCAA would have already put in measures to stop it completely if someone's been hurt by storming the court. All right, I'm going to research it a little bit more. From the Kicking It with Kissel, top 5 faces that rep ATL: Andrew Young, Dominique Wilkins, Andre 3000, Hank Aaron, and Monica Kaufman. Ooh, that's a good-ass list. You kind of looked at it from a different angle than I did with my list. And all of your people, now listen, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. There's a lot of people that you can say represent ATL. Okay? I kind of weighted it. Like, I gave you some extra points if you were from Atlanta. I gave you some extra points if you always talking about Atlanta. And I also gave you points if somebody just said your name that's not from Atlanta, would they think about the city of Atlanta? You get me? So there's going to be some feelings hurt. Just like some feelings were hurt and people were pissed off and angry at me because of my top 5 comedian list. But I like my list. Once again, there's some variables that I use in coming up with my list. Number 5 on my list was CeeLo Green. Number 4, and actually, I wish that I had thought of Dominique Wilkins. I don't know how I didn't. Because I think maybe Dominique could have been talked about for that 5th spot as opposed to CeeLo. Because Dominique was a great one. I don't know how the hell I forgot about Dominique Wilkins. I guess in my mind, I was thinking more about the entertainment industry. I was thinking about the sports industry, but I was also thinking about a wider appeal. You know, entertainment has a wider net than sports. So that's kind of, I guess, what I was thinking. But in any regard, we'll talk about it more when we get back from the break. When we get back from the break, I promise you, I'm going to talk about Tiger Woods and what one of his former senseis had to say about his psyche right now in the sport of golf, all right? Don't go away. This is the Doug Stewart Show. This is your folk, Doug Stewart. Want to protect you and your family from life's unexpected mishaps? Then join 7. Join 7 is a prepaid legal company under the umbrella of the Protection Group. Join 7 is the only group benefit or motor club in the U.S. that offers auto reimbursement coverage, key replacement coverage, roadside assistance, gives you a current Medi-File, prescription savings, and fully encompassed prepaid legal benefits that include identity theft. They got your back. The average combined cost to purchase these benefits individually is over $850 a year. Join today and take advantage of all 7 for $17 a month. They've been around for over 20 years, so check them out by clicking on the banner link on my page, thedougstewartshow.com, or the app. Just go ahead and join 7.
Attention Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. Current prices average between $25 and $35 per pill. Are you searching for an alternative to the high prices you now pay for brand name drugs? We're providing U.S. consumers a low-cost alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for $99 with incredibly fast shipping times. Our phone staff is available right now. And did we mention that shipping is free? Call right now to take advantage of this special offer. 855-781-3847 with discreet home delivery and 100% satisfaction guarantee. What are you waiting for? Call for an affordable alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for only $99. Call 855-781-3847. Speak to a rep about getting a discreet shipment to your home and start saving a ton of money. Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. You can't afford to not call 855-781-3847.
System 5 Electronics is proud to offer my listeners in the Atlanta area the most affordable home security monitoring systems, featuring smart solutions for your busy lifestyle for as low as $16.50 per month. Here's just a few reasons to choose System 5. Not only is their monitoring station located here in Atlanta, but they also install the most advanced, up-to-date alarm systems where you can access cameras, lights, door locks, thermostats, and other devices remotely with your smartphone. 24/7 technical support, plus the lowest service call fees in the business. And check this, you own your security alarm system once it's installed. Not only have they been around for almost 25 years, but their customer service is excellent. And you get direct access to the owner, Mr. Maceo Brown, to resolve any issues with your alarm system. Click on the banner on the Doug Stewart Show website or app for more details, or give them a call at 404-756-0736. Again, that's 404-756-0736. And make sure and tell them the Doug Stewart Show sent you. Yes! All right, let me just go ahead and acknowledge this right now, man. This is one of the toughest lists that I've ever done on this show, man. I mean, seriously. In the last chat message that I read, man, I mean, I missed a couple of names. But I still like my list. I still like my list of top 5 faces from the ATL. And a lot of variables went into my thoughts. And, oh, yeah, you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. Thank you for joining your boy. This is a Tight to Death Tuesday, February 24th, 2014. And so we're having some fun talking about the top 5 faces from the ATL. The reason we got into this conversation, we're going to have on the great Bruce Bruce a little bit later on today's show. And we're talking about these sports as well. So let me go ahead and give you my next name on my list. Number 5 on my list was CeeLo Goody from the Goody Mob. He's now, a top flight crossover appeal commercial singer. CeeLo, he comes in at number 5. Number 4 on my list was Chris Tucker. That's right, the comedian. Now the reason I put Chris Tucker on, obviously, because he's from Atlanta, he gets some points. And actually, I think he's from Decatur, but I'm sure he was born in Grady Hospital probably. But Chris Tucker's from Atlanta, and his relevance is on the comedic scene. And there's probably been some other comedians that have been big, but Chris Tucker is the biggest comedian from Atlanta. Will you agree with that? He is. And not only is he's the biggest comedian in Atlanta, he's the biggest comedian in a city that has about 5,000 comedians. Yes. I mean, there's so many comedians that have kind of made their mark on the national scene from Atlanta that it's endless. And I think Chris Tucker was kind of like the first one of major note with the Def Jam thing. And when people think Chris Tucker, he's Atlanta. You always see him at the Hawks games, sporting events on the sideline. And so Chris Tucker is kind of tied in to Atlanta. When you think ATL, you think Chris Tucker, and he's huge. You talk about making some money, some big-time movies over the last 15 years or so. Chris Tucker is that dude. He's Atlanta. He's a Grady baby. So I put Chris Tucker at number 4 on my list of top 5 faces that you think of from the ATL. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, CeeLo gets some points, too, because CeeLo is from Atlanta. And I think also, I mentioned in the last segment, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, I think in the last segment when somebody brought the name Dominique Wilkins, I think that part of my thinking on why I didn't think of Dominique was I was trying to gear my mind around people from the city. I kind of gave a lot more credence to those people. And so Dominique's not from Atlanta, okay? He's not from Atlanta. Even, to be honest with you, Hank Aaron, even though we think Atlanta, we think Hank Aaron, but Hank Aaron is older. He played baseball. It's not that popular that much anymore. And Hank Aaron's not from Atlanta. You kind of get what I'm saying? No disrespect to the great Hank Aaron or to the great Dominique Wilkins. Like, I almost did my list, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, of people strictly from Atlanta. And maybe we can do a list on that another day. But there's a couple of names that are so entrenched in the Atlanta culture and are such the face of Atlanta, I had to put them on the list. I had to. 404-382-0338 is the number to the show. We talked about Alex Rodriguez. We talked about storming the court. What are your thoughts on that? I'm reading some chat from that. And also one other little story that's out there, man. Butch Harmon. You've heard me say this many, many times. Butch Harmon, Tiger Woods' first swing coach when he became a professional, like in the mid-'90s. He was with him as a teenager in 1996 when he first came on. Butch Harmon was a swing coach. And I've said it many, many times before. I don't understand why Tiger Woods scrapped this swing so many times. He's done it many, many times over. Scrapped this swing, scrapped this hitting coach, his swing coach, and Butch Harmon, and to try to take, in effect, a fantastic swing and a fantastic career in dominating the sport to try to improve that. That never made sense to me ever. And he won a lot of tournaments after he got rid of Butch Harmon. And from what I understand, they fell out. They had a disagreement about something, and they don't see eye to eye. And so Butch Harmon has come out and said basically that he doesn't think that Tiger Woods would ever call him for some advice on how to fix his problems that he's having right now in golf. And I've said this many, many times before. Once again, I don't get it. Like, whenever you start something new, different than what you've done historically, there's going to be a learning curve. All right? And then when you do it over and over and over again, then you kind of get away from the foundation of who and what you really are, and in talking about golf. And if Tiger would have just continued with Butch Harmon, and continue with the original swing that he had when he was dominating golf, then he would have only improved on that swing. But now when you change it and you get this new swing coach and this, that, and the other, then there's new habits you got to learn. You know, and there's new routines that you have to learn. And there's muscle memory. And I just think a tragic, tragic mistake in Tiger Woods' career in changing swing coaches so many times. And Butch Harmon basically says that he doesn't think Tiger would call him back because of pride. And that's one thing also that I've said is Tiger, he would do himself a favor if he just swallowed his pride and called Butch Harmon or called Hank Haney or some of the guys that he had early in his career. But Tiger's so damn stubborn and thinks he knows it all, that's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen because this guy is so, you know, he thinks he knows it all. He comes across like he knows it all and he doesn't want to swallow his pride. Maybe he doesn't think he knows it all, but you can definitely understand somebody feeling and knowing him and his personality that he will not swallow his pride. You know, it would take a lot of pride swallowing for Tiger Woods to call a guy that he had a run-in with that he actually fired to help him, you know. But sometimes you got to do that in life, man. Sometimes you got to do that. Let me grab a call. Caller, thanks for calling the Doug Stewart Show. What's your name? Where you calling from? What you want to talk about?
Hey, man.
Hey.
What's going on?
Nothing much. Who's this?
Chris Tucker, man. I'm glad you put me on your list.
Okay.
What's up, Doug? This Jersey Vern, baby. What's going on?
Hey, Vern, that was the worst Chris Tucker impression I've ever heard in my life. I was like, wait a minute, is my cousin Geraldine calling show?
Oh, you need to cut that down.
What you got, Vern? What you got?
I got to get on you about your list, man.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The top three on your list should definitely be Martin Luther King, right? And
hold on. Stop, Vern. Stop, Vern. These are living people.
Go ahead.
These are living people. Living people. I should have said that earlier. Living people.
If it's just living people,
right?
All right, you're number one person on your list, and if he know he ain't on your list, he gonna come after you himself. And he's nothing but true Atlanta and everything, sports, the people, and rep his city. Ryan Cameron from V103.
Ryan Cameron is on my list somewhere. Keep listening.
It should be number one, bro. Today, I'm gonna call him up in a minute.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem with RC, and obviously you know I love RC. He's kind of like one of my mentors in the radio game. The problem with RC is he's big in Atlanta, but I kind of constructed my list on how big is his brand in California. Do people know Ryan Cameron in California? That's not disrespect to Ryan Cameron, but I tried to use or construct my list based on if you ask somebody in Texas about said person, would they know who they were? That's how I kind of came up with my list.
Well, I look at it like this. You see how long he's been in radio.
Yeah,
everybody and their mama had to come through here and talk with him on his show.
Right.
And you know that, Doug.
Right.
The word travels.
But he doesn't fit the criteria for my list, though, Vern. And Vern, appreciate the call, Vern. The number is 443-820-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. And I guess I should be more clear on how I'm coming up with my list, and I've tried to be. Two other variables that I use, and I didn't say this earlier, and I probably should have. Obviously, Martin Luther King is Atlanta. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. But I'm doing living. I was trying to focus on living people that represent Atlanta. And the second thing is what I just told Vern, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. I used a variable of if you ask somebody in Michigan who said person was, they would be able to tell you. You know, off the rip, they would be able to tell you. And so Ryan Cameron and some other people that I have on my list, they didn't make my top five. Now, I have Ryan Cameron on my honorable mention. I do. But not the top five. And my top five right now, number 5 is CeeLo, number 4, Chris Tucker, and number 3 I'll tell you about in the next segment. All right? The number is 404-382-0338. Let me read a couple of these chat messages. BPA for the Carolina Panthers for not sending one representative to the funeral of the mama of your all-time leading rusher. And when she worked with the organization and brought notice to breast cancer, I'd be a pissed off as DeAngelo Williams is. Keep your head up. Yeah, if you haven't heard that story, DeAngelo Williams said that the Carolina Panthers are going to cut him because they haven't officially done it yet, but said that when his mother died of breast cancer earlier or late last year, that not one representative from the Carolina Panthers organization came to the funeral. Like Greg Hardy came to the funeral, and that was it. Defensive lineman who's now been cut by the Carolina Panthers team. But yeah, that's not good. That's not a good story at all, man. And yeah, DeAngelo Williams is a baller. Now he's a little bit old. He's 32 years of age. He missed a couple of games last year because of injury. I think he broke his hand. So it's getting to that point already. But yeah, his mother was evidently involved with the campaign talking about breast cancer, and she succumbed to it this past year, and not one representative. And that's the norm. That's the status quo. You send an official from the team. That's the way it works. And DeAngelo says that the Carolina Panthers didn't send one person to his mama's funeral. From OG Dion, A-Rod sucked before Roy's. He's got around 500 home runs, so I don't know how you can say that. From Sylvester Williams, winning curse cures everything. If he hits 280 with 35 homers, he's a star again. He's not going to hit 35 homers. Maybe, and we're talking about Alex Rodriguez, maybe he hits 250, 260, and 17, 18 home runs. I think you'd have to be ecstatic with that if you're the New York Yankees, but I'm willing to bet everything I got that Alex Rodriguez ain't going to hit 35 homers this year. He's not. I just don't think so. Matter of fact, I'm very confident in that he won't hit 35 home runs. Bookmark this show, though, and we can talk about it down the road. All right, don't go anywhere. When we get back, the second hour of the show on the Doug Stewart Show, we'll continue to talk about these sports and top 5 faces of ATL living, and that people would know them nationally on the Doug Stewart Show. Don't go away. System 5 Electronics is proud to offer my listeners in the Atlanta area the most affordable home security monitoring systems, featuring smart solutions for your busy lifestyle for as low as $16.50 per month. Here's just a few reasons to choose System 5. Not only is their monitoring station located here in Atlanta, but they also install the most advanced, up-to-date alarm systems where you can access cameras, lights, door locks, thermostats, and other devices remotely with your smartphone. 24/7 technical support, plus the lowest service call fees in the business. And check this, you own your security alarm system once it's installed. Not only have they been around for almost 25 years, but their customer service is excellent. And you get direct access to the owner, Mr. Maceo Brown, to resolve any issues with your alarm system. Click on the banner on the Doug Stewart Show website or app for more details, or give them a call at 404-756-0736. Again, that's 404-756-0736. And make sure and tell them the Doug Stewart Show sent you. Yes!
The best of the Doug Stewart Show.
I'd been talking about red rice, frogmore stew. Another one on the list, on number 13 on this list, is peanuts taste better boiled. Yes. And as God is my witness, my wife did not know people boiled peanuts and ate them. She did not. My wife's from Ohio. And yes, boiled peanuts, if cooked right, are the bomb.
Sports talk. Straight, no chaser.
All right, so I got to clear something up. and I don't even know why anybody's mind would even work like this, but evidently it's becoming a topic of conversation. In the last segment, I was talking about boiled peanuts, okay, that come from out of the ground, not boiled peanuts. And so, evidently there's some talk in the chat room about Doug talking about boiled man parts. No, peanuts. I'm trying to say it as slow as I can. Peanuts, okay? What is it? P-E-A-N-U-T-S? Peanuts. No, man. Not boiled peanuts. Come on, man. And I see Vern in here. Damn you, Vern. Ugh. hell I was saying? This is the Doug Stewart Show. You promised yourself you were going to take better care of your health this year, right? Here's a great place to start with Meds from Nature. MedsFromNature.com sells homeopathic medicines for consumers looking for safe, natural, and effective alternative health products. You then say, Stu, what's homeopathy? Then I'd say it's the safe, gentle, and natural system of healing that works with your body to relieve symptoms, restore itself, and improve overall health. Meds from Nature sells the top natural medicines with no side effects, and they're also FDA regulated. Unlike supplements or herbs over the counter, they have a lower cost per dose than prescription medicines, prices lower than Whole Foods, plus use promo code SPORTS and get an extra 25% off. Shipping and handling charges kept to a minimum, then they safely pack and quickly ship the products to their customers. So, check them out at MedsFromNature.com and get your health in check for 2015. Yes! This is hour number 2 of the Doug Stewart Show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, sir. And I really appreciate you joining your boy. Continue to pass the word. Hey, man, let's do a little experiment, man. If you don't chat in the chat room, typically, let me see something, man. We got over 377 posts in the Doug Stewart Show chat room on Spreaker.com. If you're somebody that never posts, maybe because your boss is watching your ass or something like that, just post a one word like, what up? Or hey, or how y'all doing? And that's it. I want to see how many people just lurking in the chat room that don't, like I said, typically post on a daily schedule like we normally have. We got a lot of people in the chat room, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show that post every single day, and I really appreciate that. That they get their sports fix on Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and I really, really appreciate that. But I know there's like 1,000 lurkers out there. Let's see how many people will just give us a little shout-out to everybody on the Doug Stewart Show and all of the Stewies and the dogs and the poodles. Let's see what happens with that, all right? 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedugstewartshow.com. There's a lot of controversy and back and forth in the chat room, speaking of which, about my list, the top 5 faces from the ATL. Once again, let me kind of give you some of the variables I used in my list. They got extra points if they're from Atlanta, if they're native Atlanta. They got extra points if you mention them to anybody in another state from somewhere else in this country and people knew who they were or who they were. If they've got commercial appeal. They have to be living. I'm talking about living people. Of course, Martin Luther King, the Jr., would be the number 1 person on the list if we're talking about ATL people all time. Yes. Okay, but he's not living right now, unfortunately. So my list, I had number 5, CeeLo Green. Number 4, I got Chris Tucker. And number 3 on my list is T.I. Rubber Band Man, wild as the Taliban. Oh, man. All right, so my little quick T.I. story, man. Before T.I. broke out on the scene, I don't know which year this was. You remember when everybody was wearing the throwback jerseys? We had like a ton of them. And there was this store in Buckhead called Distant Replay. And I think Distant Replay actually was the number 1 seller of throwback jerseys in this country. And I think that the whole throwback jersey started with Big Boy from Outkast, the way the story goes. And so Big Boy wore this throwback jersey on a video, and then everybody in America was wearing throwback jerseys. So I'm in Distant Replay, doing my shopping for throwback jerseys. And I think this was probably 2004, 2005. And so I can't remember exactly who it was, but somebody like with the Dungeon family came in, and I knew them, and we were kind of having like a little conversation, and this little dude was with him, and it was T.I., and I didn't know his name at the time, and the dude was like, yeah, this is my man Clifford. Everybody call him T.I. in the streets. Trust me, he about to blow up. And I'm like, oh, yeah? He's like, what up, folk? What up, what up, what up? And the rest is, as they say, history. This is before T.I., his first single came out or anything like that. And so I think people in Atlanta knew him, but, you know, he hadn't done anything nationally yet. And so once again, this dude that I knew, and I don't even remember his name right now, I got his face in my mind, but I don't remember his name, seen him out, or he's been to events with him or whatever. He was like, yeah, trust me, this guy right here, and he introduced me, this is Cliff, and his name is T.I., we call him T.I. on the streets, and that's his rap name or whatever, and trust me, this guy's going to be big, and you talk about big. T.I., man, he is straight Atlanta. I mean, when people think of Atlanta, they think T.I., and I don't know if he actually, I think he actually grew up like in Jonesboro or Clayton County or something like that, but he's Atlanta. I mean, period. He's Atlanta. So he gets points for all types of stuff with just being one of the biggest rappers to ever come out. Outside of Outkast, you know, as far as bigness and accomplishments and great music and notoriety, T.I. is right up there with Outkast. He is. So number 3 on my list is the great T.I. Yes, sir. Tip. I think his name is Clifford Harris, something like that. So he comes in at number 3 on my list of top 5 ATL faces. Let me go ahead and grab a call. Caller, thanks for calling the Doug Stewart Show. What's your name? Where you calling from? What you want to talk about?
So what's happening? It's T from Huntsville.
T from Huntsville. What up, baby?
Man, enjoying the show as always, man. Hey, you need to keep it real about that T.I. story, sir. After my man told you my man was going to be big, what did you think to yourself, sir? I remember you saying it before.
Well, I was like, I didn't know who this little guy was. I mean, he was very cocky. And I mean, T.I., if you've never met T.I., and maybe he's put on a couple pounds lately, but if you've never met him back then, he was all of 130 pounds. I mean, this is a little small dude. I'm like, this guy? And sure enough, the rest is history.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Hey, I ain't going to touch that list, man. There's too many people too hard. But let me say this about that whole little baseball thing, man. I mean, their own A-Rod, you know, basically, in my opinion, they're making certain people the face of steroids, and it's really a joke if you think about it. It was a widespread problem, and I really think the superstars, the really good players in the league, the A-Rods of the world, the Barry Bonds of the world, they only did it after they saw that for years and years everybody else was allowed to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The real people that were only hard, the Brett Boones of the world, you know, people nobody talk about those savers, Trevor Hoffman, Gagne, the dude with the big glasses.
Right.
I mean, all of them just faded away and disappeared, and that just went off into the wind. But when they talk about steroids, they talk about Barry Bonds, they talk about A-Rod, they talk about Palmeiro. Mark McGwire kind of got talked about, but he's not coaching, and they leave him alone.
Right.
Sammy Sosa got messed with so bad that he wanted to turn himself white so he could get a pass. I mean, they just go after certain people with it. And one more slight thing on the, I know I'm supposed to do this on the Facebook page, but I like to give an early DPA nomination to Kanye West, not for anything he did on a award show on the stage. His clothing line is the clothing line that has those dresses for men. I think I posted on the page a while back. I didn't realize
right.
His clothing line.
Yeah.
That's his clothing line, and he deserves a DPA award for that. And we got him calling, so hold it down.
Hey, appreciate the call. He called 443820338. The great T from Huntsville. Like, T's been listening to the show since it was the Stews. Back in the day. We're talking about 10 years T from Huntsville is listening to the show, man. I appreciate all of – there's a lot of people that listen to the Doug Stewart Show that used to listen religiously back in the day to the Two Live Stews, and I really do appreciate that. T from Huntsville, Vern from Jersey, and there's a lot of people that don't call, but they hit me up in the chat room. The chat room is just crazy. And, man, I really do appreciate the continued support and love. Yes, sir. Let me read some more of the chat. Real People Music. You don't have to be from ATL to be a face of ATL. Doug's not from ATL, but he keeps it on the map. Yes, sir. I appreciate that, man. Petro Spiver. Who lies more, A-Rod or Brian Williams? Okay, that's funny. You talk about somebody that's gone from like this prestigious pristine image in Brian Williams to just ishy, real ishy right now. Juan Cruz, how is A-Rod different than Bill Belichick and Tom Brady? No, he's not any different. He's not any different. It's going to be interesting to see, I think, particularly when you talk about Alex Rodriguez, about what happens with him this year in the field, and is he going to be a complete train wreck or not? That's what I'm thinking about when I think about Alex Rodriguez, 100%. Let me read a little bit more chat here. Let's see. What do we got here? Petra, how can you have a top 5 Atlanta list with no Buck Godfrey on the list? Yeah, once again, and Buck Godfrey, for people that don't know, Buck Godfrey was a long-time head coach of Southwest DeKalb high school football. He's actually the father of the great Rashawn Ali, who's a great friend of the show. Shouts out, Shawnee. So Buck Godfrey's great, but once again, that whole variable about do people in, I don't know, Utah know Buck Godfrey? And sadly, they probably don't. So that's where that's coming from. All right, when we get back from the break, man, we're going to talk to the great Bruce Bruce, have some fun with him. Don't go away. This is the Doug Stewart Show. You promised yourself you were going to take better care of your health this year, right? Here's a great place to start with Meds from Nature. MedsFromNature.com sells homeopathic medicines for consumers looking for safe, natural, and effective alternative health products. You then say, Stu, what's homeopathy? Then I'd say it's the safe, gentle, and natural system of healing that works with your body to relieve symptoms, restore itself, and improve overall health. Meds from Nature sells the top natural medicines with no side effects, and they're also FDA regulated. Unlike supplements or herbs over the counter, they have a lower cost per dose than prescription medicines, prices lower than Whole Foods, plus use promo code SPORTS and get an extra 25% off. Shipping and handling charges kept to a minimum, then they safely pack and quickly ship the products to their customers. So, check them out at medsfromnature.com and get your health in check for 2015. Yes! First of all, thank you for listening to the Doug Stewart Show. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you know that we've grown exponentially over the first couple of months. Whether that's listens, whether that's followers, we're blowing up, and you can be a part of it. If you have a company out there and you like to promote on the Doug Stewart Show, we'd love to partner with you. Here's what you do. Email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Once again, that's doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Whether that's locally, regionally, or nationally, we can get the word out. What you're talking about is middle-aged dudes that love sports and love exciting sports talk. Once again, email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. That's doug@thedougstewartshow.com, and we will put you out there. All right? That's doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Let's do some business. Yes! Fantasy sports fans are winning huge cash prizes every day at DraftKings.com, America's favorite place to play daily fantasy sports. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Just pick your sport and draft your team. It's like a new season every time you play, so you're never stuck with the same players. Last year, $300 million were won at DraftKings.com, and you could be next to win big. Go to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code STU to play for free. That's Stu for free entry now at DraftKings.com. Also, if you use promo code STU, DraftKings will match your initial deposit up to $600. Deposit $600, play with $1,200. DraftKings.com, promo code STU. Welcome back to the Doug Stewart Show. This is a Tight to Death Tuesday. And shouts out to everybody out there in the chat room and listening to the show. Continue to pass the word. The realest, trillest sports talk show in America. And we're talking about the top 5 faces of Atlanta. And we thought it'd be real cool to have on one of those faces from the ATL. Joining me right now on the Doug Stewart Show line is the great Bruce Bruce. Let Bruce Bruce hit it.
How you doing?
Man, I'm fantastic. Bruce, how you doing?
I'm good.
So
good.
Bruce, your name came up the other day. We were talking about the top 5 comedians of all time. And then so we started talking about Atlanta comedians, and so we wanted to check into you, man. First of all, before we even get to that conversation, what have you been up to? Where are you at right now? I heard you were in the car going somewhere. Where you at right now, Bruce?
Well, first of all, I don't want you to talk about my male stripping days. You know, when I strip, because, you know, the church members come down hard on me about that. So, I love stripping. People got to realize that comedy is secondary. Stripping is my first love.
Right.
So no, on a serious tip, what I've been doing, man, is what everybody's been trying to do in this business, man, including yourself. Where I've been grinding, touring every week, and working on my own TV show now. Got a show called Brewskis. It's gonna be called the Bruce Bruce Show. And the name of I play a retired comedian, and I own a club and a bar. And it allows me to bring comedians on my shows. It allows me to bring athletes on my shows, musical acts, radio personalities. And this is a sitcom now. This is not a reality show. It's called Brewski. So we shot our first pilot, and we brought a old school group back called Silk. You remember Silk?
Yeah.
Silk. And then we brought Keith Sweat.
Okay.
So everything is falling in place, and everything is rolling my way it wanted to go.
Talking to Bruce right now on the Doug Stewart Show, comedian extraordinaire. All right, so Bruce, the other day we were talking about comedians, man. And I'm going to talk to you more in a second about Atlanta in particular, but we were talking about top 5 comedians of all time. If you had to come up with your top 1 or 2 or 3 comedians of all time, who would head up your list?
Okay, let me ask you this. Do they have to be new comedians or old comedians?
They could be old. You can include any comedian in the history of comedians.
Okay, of course you know Richard Pryor. He's the king.
Right.
Red Fox, Bill Cosby. We're talking about Milton Berle. People think I'm crazy when I say that, but Milton Berle.
No, I get you. Berle. I get you.
Mom's Mabley.
Okay. Now you left out you left out in talking about those names. You left out Eddie Murphy. Did you do that on purpose?
I did it on purpose. You know, Eddie Murphy. To me, he's not an old comedian. You know, he's one of the top. But he's not one of the top in my group.
Ooh. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Talking to Bruce.
I mean, he was all right. We talking about people that really grinded and opened the doors for people like Eddie Murphy, and people like myself, and people like Cedric the Entertainer and Steve Harvey. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
These people, we probably wouldn't be here today. So, you know, when I say Milton Berle, I studied Milton Berle at the back of my head. He was quick, fast. He was witty. He was the man. So these are the top 5. Now, we talking about the new comedians today?
Yeah, if you had to say your top couple of comedians that are funny all time, I mean, despite the time of the era that they came through, like who makes Bruce laugh?
Well, who makes me laugh? Cedric the Entertainer make me laugh. Bernie Mac definitely make me laugh. And Martin Lawrence definitely make me laugh.
Okay, all right. Talking to Bruce right now on the Doug Stewart Show on the Stewart Media Network. All right, now you're also from Atlanta, and looking up your background, I didn't know it, but you're actually from the Bluff. I'm
from the Bluff, man. Bankhead, man. I'm talking about the hood.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when you standing on the corner, brothers just walk out the bushes on you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We talking about brothers didn't even care. I'm straight from the Bluff, man. I was born and raised. I'm a Grady baby. I'm born in Grady Memorial Hospital.
Right.
Raised up in the Bluff, man. It was a rough area, but the key thing behind that whole story, I had home training.
Right.
So no matter where you grew up at, it's where you at. Right. And, you know, I watched guys do all kind of bad things, but when it came down to home training, it kicked in when it was time to do something bad.
Talking to Bruce on the Doug Stewart Show on the Stewart Media Network. All right, so we're also having a conversation today about Atlanta. Like living people that when you think of, if you're from another place outside of Georgia or the city of Atlanta, you think and you say that person is Atlanta, you know, and I gave a couple of names on my list like CeeLo Goody, yourself, guys like that, Chris Tucker. Like, give me a name of a person that says Atlanta, Georgia.
A person that says Atlanta, Georgia, and big time, you're not going to believe this, George Wallace is one of them. One of the stand-up comedians in the world who had a show in Vegas for 10 years long. George Wallace is actually from the Bluff as well. People don't know that.
Wow.
And he's from the Bluff, and parents moved to Linwood Park in the area by Lenox Square. And if you look at people like, Goody Mob,
right?
You talked about CeeLo. You look at people like Outkast. You say Atlanta when you say that. When you say Andre 3000, when you say Big Boy, you say Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you say Jackie Reed, who does the news on BET, you say Atlanta.
Right.
So, and if you say somebody like Bruce, man, you say Atlanta.
Yeah. Finishing up with Bruce right now on the Doug Stewart Show. All right, so a little conversation we also had, or I've been having with some of my friends, is this interview, and it was actually, I said earlier, it was the Breakfast Club, but it was actually the guy, Sway, on the radio or whatever, but he did an interview with Mike Epps, and they got into this conversation about Kevin Hart and how big his star is right now, but they also kind of alluded to the fact that he actually has writers. So what's your thoughts on comedians having writers? Culturally, what does that mean in the circles of comedians? What are your thoughts on Kevin Hart and how big he's gotten, but a lot of his stuff allegedly comes from writers?
Well, let me say this to you, Doug. I learned this a long time ago in the game. I've been in the business 25 years strong, right? And I learned from a Jewish guy. He said, if you want to win the game, you got to know how to play the game, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what Kevin Hart is doing is playing the game, which is very good. Writers are not bad. If they can write for you and make it good for you, I say do it. A lot of comedians out there do need writers. There's nothing wrong with a writer. Kevin Hart is in the business to entertain, to make people laugh, and to continue on for the rest of his life. But the key thing is, people always saying, I was in the business before him, and I did this before him. It doesn't work like that. When it's your time, it's just your time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nothing, no player hating, no misunderstanding. It's just Kevin Hart's time, and it's his era. Kevin Hart, people that go look at Kevin Hart, it was like from 15 to 33. But people like my mom, your dad, your mom, they're not really interested in Kevin Hart. It's his era. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, with today's social media, everybody from 15 or younger up to 35 to 40, all they do is Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Right.
So that's what everything is at. Back in the day, even back in the day, you had to go on the radio. You had to advertise on the radio. You had to do something on TV. But now we got the internet. We got social media. You can just put it out there, and people are going to love it because that's the age range that uses all this type of technology today. Am I right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And Mike Epps talked about that a little bit. This is a different day and time. It's a lot of it's got to do with how many Twitter followers you got.
Oh, yeah, it's got to do with that. And, and a lot of people I know that has a big Twitter following, they're really not even funny, but their following is huge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They got over 10 million people. So they'll go out and sell tickets because of their Twitter following. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's all got to do with social media today. Radio is very good, but to a lot of people, social media is the thing. But me, I'm old school. I see it like radio.
Right. Finishing up with Bruce on the Doug Stewart Show on the Stewart Media Network. All right, Bruce, last thing. This is something else you came up in conversation a couple of days ago. We were talking about, I don't know exactly what we were talking about, but your name came up for hosting Amateur Night at the Blue Flame.
Man, let me tell you something. I sent a few girls to college. Did you hear what I said? A few of them girls have went to college on Bruce's name because, boy, I paid well.
Hey,
but let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
The Amateur Night at the Blue Flame was the best thing could ever happen. It was fun. It was actually good, wholesome humor at a strip club. Nobody got hurt.
Right.
Ain't nothing in the world like a butt-naked girl, and you know that.
Hey, Bruce, was it on Thursday or was it on Tuesday night?
You know it was on Thursday night.
It was on Thursday. One of my boys tried to.
At first, it was on Tuesday.
Okay.
We did Club 559 on Tuesday. Everybody left Club 559, the comedy show, with me, and went over to the Blue Flame on Tuesday because the show was at 559 at 12 midnight. Over at 2 a.m.
Right.
2:30 a.m. we was at the Blue Flame, and over by 4:30 a.m. the same night. So and then it moved to Thursday. But, man, the Amateur Night at Blue Flame was the bomb.
Hey, Bruce, man, that was legendary. How many years did you do that?
Man, I did it about 5 or 6 years. They had to make me quit. I didn't want to quit, I was there. They had to make me quit, but I had to pass it on to somebody else because things change, and and everything changes. So my time was wonderful there.
Awesome. Well, Bruce, before we let you go, man, tell everybody how they can follow you on social media and also a website or something they can catch up with Bruce Bruce and what he's got going on.
Okay, first of all, you can hit me on my website at www.brucebruce.com, brucebruce.com. Now, you can go to my Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Go at My Bruce Bruce. That's MY Bruce Bruce. And you can hit me on either one of those and let me know how you feel, man, because I want to hear from you.
Hey, Bruce, man, obviously we appreciate all you do, man, for the city. We love you, man, and good luck, and keep doing your thing, baby.
I'm going to do it, man, and thank you for having me on, brother.
There he is, Bruce Bruce right there on the Doug Stewart Show. Love that dude, man. And I knew it was Thursday. I got in a huge blowout argument with a dude who swore up and down that Amateur Night at the Blue Flame was on Tuesday. And so Bruce kind of straightened that out. It actually started out, you talk about an old school name, or at least in my era. I moved there in 94. The 559 over in the West End. The 559. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, shouts out to the great Bruce Bruce. That's some good stuff, man. And, yeah, what God got for you is only for you, or however that saying goes, them old people say, talking about Kevin Hart. So Bruce doesn't have a problem with the writers. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Great stuff. All right. Up next on the Doug Stewart Show, we'll continue to talk about the top 5 faces of ATL. And I'll talk a little bit about the Raiders and the Chargers coming together. That's right. Don't go away. The Doug Stewart Show. This is your folk, Doug Stewart. Want to protect you and your family from life's unexpected mishaps? Then join 7. Join 7 is a prepaid legal company under the umbrella of the Protection Group. Join 7 is the only group benefit or motor club in the U.S. that offers auto reimbursement coverage, key replacement coverage, roadside assistance, gives you a current Medi-File, prescription savings, and fully encompassed prepaid legal benefits that include identity theft. They got your back. The average combined cost to purchase these benefits individually is over $850 a year. Join today and take advantage of all 7 for $17 a month. They've been around for over 20 years, so check them out by clicking on the banner link on my page, thedougstewartshow.com, or the app. Just go ahead and join 7.
Attention Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. Current prices average between $25 and $35 per pill. Are you searching for an alternative to the high prices you now pay for brand name drugs? We're providing U.S. consumers a low-cost alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for $99 with incredibly fast shipping times. Our phone staff is available right now. And did we mention that shipping is free? Call right now to take advantage of this special offer. 855-781-3847 with discreet home delivery and 100% satisfaction guarantee. What are you waiting for? Call for an affordable alternative. Our current special is 50 pills with free shipping for only $99. Call 855-781-3847. Speak to a rep about getting a discreet shipment to your home and start saving a ton of money. Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis users. You can't afford to not call 855-781-3847.
System 5 Electronics is proud to offer my listeners in the Atlanta area the most affordable home security monitoring systems, featuring smart solutions for your busy lifestyle for as low as $16.50 per month. Here's just a few reasons to choose System 5. Not only is their monitoring station located here in Atlanta, but they also install the most advanced, up-to-date alarm systems where you can access cameras, lights, door locks, thermostats, and other devices remotely with your smartphone. 24/7 technical support, plus the lowest service call fees in the business. And check this, you own your security alarm system once it's installed. Not only have they been around for almost 25 years, but their customer service is excellent. And you get direct access to the owner, Mr. Maceo Brown, to resolve any issues with your alarm system. Click on the banner on the Doug Stewart Show website or app for more details, or give them a call at 404-756-0736. Again, that's 404-756-0736. And make sure and tell them the Doug Stewart Show sent you. Yeah. Welcome back to the Doug Stewart Show. Tight to Death Tuesday. Top 5 Tuesday as well. Talking about the top 5 faces of ATL. And the great Bruce brought back a name, man. Big time. And talking about great Bruce. And 559. And that was some good stuff, man. Absolutely. A lot of guys, their personality is just like super, super cool. And Bruce is one of those guys straight from the bluff. And a couple of weeks ago, I told the listeners, we were talking about movies, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. We were talking about movies and about underrated movies, I think it was. And I told the listeners and the Stewies to go and check out Snow on the Bluff. And that's where Bruce is from. If you saw Snow on the Bluff, that area, so you're talking about Bankhead, Vine City. If you're from Atlanta, you know these places. Over by the Georgia Dome. And that's where the great Bruce is from. And he also, I didn't know George Wallace. I think I remember George Wallace saying and going to probably, I don't know, I've probably seen George Wallace, the comedian, probably 5 or 6 times in Vegas. I knew George Wallace was from Georgia. I did not know he was straight ATL. I did not know he was straight the bluff. So, yeah, shouts out to the great Bruce. Really do appreciate that. Yes, sir. All right, so my list. And I also want to talk about the Chargers and the Raiders. Let me quickly do that right now. The number to the show is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. The big thing is jump on the chat. If you've never hit me on the chat before, just show your face. I mean, it's cool. Just show your face. Just peek your head in and then peek out by just putting like, what up, shots out to you, or something like that. Just a quick line in the chat room. I'm trying to see if we can break a record as far as chat discussion in the chat room on the Doug Stewart Show. So number 5 on my list was CeeLo. Number 4, Chris Tucker. Number 3, T.I. I'll tell you number 2 in a second. But the Chargers, the San Diego Chargers and the Oakland Raiders are looking to do a deal together to build a new stadium in Carson, California. Now, Carson, California is basically like a suburb of L.A. It's downtown L.A. basically. I don't know if it's downtown. I don't know exactly how the layout is, the geography of L.A. is. But when I went to L.A. last week, that's where I was at, was in Carson City, California. And that's where a lot of the studios are. That's where the Fox studios were. And so they're trying to build a stadium in conjunction with each other in Carson, California. And I don't like that. Now, I've mentioned it before. I actually grew up, I guess, following the San Diego Chargers because the only person at that time from my hometown played for the Chargers. So I kind of, have a kinship with the Chargers and all of the great Air Coryell teams. We didn't get to see them a lot, obviously, being on the East Coast. But Air Coryell and the great receiving corps that they had, and Wes Chandler and John Jefferson and Charlie Joyner and Kellen Winslow and all of those guys and Dan Fouts. So I followed. The Chargers were big, man. This doesn't seem right. Like it doesn't seem right that they should be. And I guess they still would be totally separate. And we've seen the Lakers and the Clippers do this type of thing because I guess there's just not a lot of available real estate in a prime location still available in L.A. I get it. But it doesn't seem cool. That doesn't seem cool. And I guess you would have some type of realignment of the divisions or whatever. The Chargers in the AFC West and the Raiders in the AFC West as well. So I don't know what that would mean. A lot of people forget that the Seattle Seahawks used to be in the AFC West, and now they're in the NFC West. So that's not a big problem. But what do you think about this, man? And what do you think about taking a team in one of the nicest cities in the country to live in, voted every year just about, in San Diego, and some of the most passionate fans, and now the Raiders have been going back and forth, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, between L.A. and Oakland. They've done that several times, seemingly. So I guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal. L.A. Raiders fans from back in the day, they'll have their team back. But the Chargers, it doesn't seem right that the Chargers should leave San Diego I mean, it just doesn't. And I don't like the idea of that at all. Now, we will make it. We'll be okay. We'll get along because this happens all the time. And I remember there was a huge uproar when the St. Louis Rams, when they moved, or when the Arizona Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals moved to Arizona, and the St. Louis Rams moved to St. Louis. And you know the whole back and forth between the Colts and the Browns. What happens is people are upset. Even you can go to basketball and talk about the Seattle Seahawks or Supersonics leaving Seattle to go ultimately be the Oklahoma City Thunder, I guess you would say. That's right. Yeah, Kevin Durant played for them. What happens is there's an uproar, but it's business as usual, and it'll be okay. Like, life goes on. But it just, I hate the whole thought of a city that's been a great fan base. In talking about San Diego, they appear to be some great fans to me, to lose their team. Like, I thought one of the worst things ever was when the Supersonics left Seattle. I mean, my gosh, their fans were fantastic. And, you know, fans in Seattle are historically just bombastic. They're off the chain. You look at the Seattle Seahawks fans right now, they're just fantastic. The Seattle Supersonics fans were great, and they still lost their damn team. And that kind of seems like the same thing for San Diego. What are your thoughts on that, man? If you are a fan, or maybe you even grew up in San Diego, what does it mean to lose the San Diego Chargers? That's not cool at all. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at Doug@theDougStewartShow.com. So number 2 on my list is the great Andre 3000. That's right. You knew it was coming. For no other reason than they are the biggest, and he's the biggest name, I guess the biggest brand out of the two, the duo that make Outkast. They're the biggest group or the biggest rap act that comes from a city that is probably not just in rap or not just in music, but in entertainment period. Atlanta's probably, and maybe I'm missing someplace, maybe there's a discussion between Atlanta and Miami, but the third biggest entertainment capital of the country. I mean, are you with me on that? Number 1 is obviously L.A. Number 2 is New York. Maybe you can flip-flop those. New York has more people, but L.A., I mean, hell, they shoot movies out there. But right behind those two is probably Atlanta. As far as this music industry, probably in the early 90s, that's even been parlayed to a movie industry, a thriving movie and TV industry in this city. And the biggest act, the biggest rap act, the first thing in entertainment that really hit the city hard was Outkast. And Andre 3000 is synonymous with Outkast and rap in this city. And this city, talking about ATL, I mean, this city holds its own as far as acts, as far as groups, singers, not just in rap, but in general. You know, Babyface and LaFace is based here, and Tony Braxton's based here, and so Bobby Brown is here, and so just the entertainment industry in itself is just huge in Atlanta. Once again, probably third behind L.A. and New York. And Outkast is the face of that, man. So Andre 3000 is number 1. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you my number 1. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and give you my number 1 because I want to have time to go over this long list of honorable mentions. I do. Because I got to pay homage to these names. So I'm going to tell you number 1 when we get back from the break. I'm also going to read over the honorable mentions because I think it's proper. I think it's proper protocol, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. I think we have to. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with my number 1. A lot of people hate this guy. This guy's got a lot of haters. This person has a lot of haters in the ATL. But at the same time, I pay homage. I pay respect where respect is due. And you can probably guess who my number 1 guy is, but stay tuned, and I'll tell you. Then we'll go over this honorable mention. And also, and I'm waving at her right now, Tree, I kind of want you to come in and give me your top 5, too. You've been working on it throughout today's show. So I want to hear from a woman's perspective your top 5. We'll let the listeners hear that as well. All right? So don't go away. This is the Doug Stewart Show, Tight to Death Tuesday. You promised yourself you were going to take better care of your health this year, right? Here's a great place to start with Meds from Nature. MedsFromNature.com sells homeopathic medicines for consumers looking for safe, natural, and effective alternative health products. You then say, Stu, what's homeopathy? Then I'd say it's the safe, gentle, and natural system of healing that works with your body to relieve symptoms, restore itself, and improve overall health. Meds from Nature sells the top natural medicines with no side effects, and they're also FDA regulated. Unlike supplements or herbs over the counter, they have a lower cost per dose than prescription medicines, prices lower than Whole Foods, plus use promo code SPORTS and get an extra 25% off. Shipping and handling charges kept to a minimum. Then they safely pack and quickly ship the products to their customers. So check them out at MedsFromNature.com and get your health in check for 2015. Yes! First of all, thank you for listening to the Doug Stewart Show. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you know that we've grown exponentially over the first couple of months. Whether that's listens, whether that's followers, we're blowing up, and you can be a part of it. If you have a company out there and you like to promote on the Doug Stewart Show, we'd love to partner with you. Here's what you do. Email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Once again, that's doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Whether that's locally, regionally, or nationally, we can get the word out. What you're talking about is middle-aged dudes that love sports and love exciting sports talk. Once again, email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. That's doug@thedougstewartshow.com, and we will put you out there, all right? That's doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Let's do some business. Yes! Fantasy sports fans are winning huge cash prizes every day at DraftKings.com, America's favorite place to play daily fantasy sports. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Just pick your sport and draft your team. It's like a new season every time you play, so you're never stuck with the same players. Last year, $300 million were won at DraftKings.com, and you could be next to win big. Go to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code STU to play for free. That's STU for free entry now at DraftKings.com. Also, if you use promo code STU, DraftKings will match your initial deposit up to $600. Deposit $600, play with $1,200. DraftKings.com, promo code STU. Welcome back to the Doug Stewart Show. Tight to Death Tuesday, man. Shouts out to everybody in the chat room, man. Much love, much new love in the chat room as well. Thank you. I asked people that don't normally listen to the show, and Tree dubbed it listening on the low, that don't normally listen, just to give us a shout out in the chat room, let us know that you got a pulse. And, man, we got over 611 posts in the Doug Stewart Show chat room on Spreaker. Thank y'all, man. That's what's up. And I know you can't just be interactive and chime in like you want because your boss is on your back like the hag. I know. I get it. So we've been talking about the top 5 faces of Atlanta. Number 5 on my list was CeeLo Green. Number 4, Chris Tucker. Number 3, T.I. Number 2, Andre 3000. And number 1, let me ask you a question. When you think of the New York City rap scene, who do you think about? You think of Puff Daddy, right? I mean, yeah, you do. I mean, a lot of people may not, but he's the biggest name. And I think I saw an article the other day, like in the hip-hop genre, Puffy has made more money this past year in 2014 than anybody else. He's a true mogul. If you talk about L.A., the L.A. music scene, you talk about Dr. Dre, right? This guy isn't even from Atlanta, and I know I'm going to take some flack because of it, but this guy is Atlanta. When you think of this guy's name, he is Atlanta, and that is none other than the great Jermaine Dupri. Yes, sir. I mean, think about it. My rationalization is that this hip-hop scene, this entertainment scene that we've been talking about all day long, or I've been talking about all day long, and you have been in the chat, the first mogul, the first major label, rap label in this city is So Def. And for many, many years, and I think he's fallen on hard times with his money. I pray that that's worked out. But for many, many years, if you flew into Atlanta and you drove into the city, one of the first things, it was like a landmark that you saw on the right side of 85 was a So Def billboard. You did. And I don't think it's up anymore. But So Def, Jermaine Dupri, and the single that he dropped, Welcome to Atlanta, are all synonymous with ATL. I mean, it is. Now, once again, you can argue about the order. You may even have somebody that's different on your list that I didn't have on mine. I get all of that. But I think as far as name and somebody that reps ATL and has been repping ATL for more than 20 years is Jermaine Dupri. So he's number one on my list. And I know my brother might be listening right now. He's pissed off because allegedly my brother had a beef, a little run-in with Jermaine Dupri. Yeah, Jermaine Dupri like played him to the left or something like that out in the club or something like that. And so Ryan's harbored resentment ever since. I put all of those petty little differences aside when I come up with my list. And once again, don't forget, this is my list. Now, your honorable mentions. Well, first, Tree, get on your mic. Get on your mic there. Tree. So we were talking all day long, basically, but during the break as well. I want you to give your list as far as top 5 faces of Atlanta.
Okay, so number 5, I have CeeLo.
Okay, we agree on that.
I noticed y'all don't have a lot of color going on in here. I might catch some flack, but Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah, he's big. He's kind of big. And I just forgot about Ryan Seacrest, but he probably wouldn't have made my list anyway.
I got Chris Tucker at number 3.
Okay.
And I got T.I. at number 2.
Okay.
And Jungle, this one's for you. MLK, baby.
Now you did that.
That's right.
You did hear my explanation earlier why I didn't have the great MLK on my list. I mean, we're talking about living people.
Okay, well, it's my list. That's your list. So, you know.
Exactly. All right. Good stuff. Appreciate that, Tree. Appreciate that. I really like this new feature, and we had a little issue with it yesterday. I like this new feature where Tree can actually come in and give some commentary. It's good stuff. The listeners seem to like it as well, so that's some good stuff. Let me give you my honorable mention. And, boy, the chat line is on fire right now. Oh, my gosh. The chat line is on fire right now. But my honorable mention, the great Ludacris. Shouts out to the great Ludacris. Luda is not from Atlanta. I think he was born in Chicago. But Ludacris was on the radio here when I first moved on. He was on Hot 97.5 or whatever it was. Now it's 107.9. But he was actually an on-air DJ, like an intern or something like that, and parlayed that into being one of the biggest rappers in history. The great Evander Holyfield. Holyfield makes my honorable mention. Holyfield isn't from Atlanta, though. That's another thing that kind of hurt him. Holyfield isn't from Atlanta. He's from Alabama or somewhere. But Evander Holyfield is straight ATL. He's been here so long and recognized as being a boxer, a worldwide known boxer. The great Gucci Mane. The great Gucci Mane didn't make my list either. He's an honorable mention. The great Gucci Mane's from Alabama. Chili from TLC. She's from ATL. The great Ryan Cameron. Somebody called up. Oh, Vern called up earlier and talked about my folk, Ryan Cameron, who has been a radio DJ here for at least 20 years. When I first moved here, he was like on the evening on V103, like in the evening. I think he might have been an intern himself. Straight out of college, I think Ryan went to West Georgia, and the rest is history. He's been a dominant DJ here in the city for a long, long time. Kasim Reed, mayor of Atlanta, from Southwest Atlanta. Spike Lee. Did you know Spike Lee was from here? Well, Spike Lee, he's made mention. He went to Morehouse, but he's more recognized now, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, for being a New Yorker. I think his family moved from Atlanta when he was very young. They moved to New York City, Brooklyn. Walt Frazier. Walt Frazier is actually from Atlanta. A lot of people may not have even known that. Kenan Thompson on Saturday Night Live of Keenan and Kel fame. Back in the day, he was a funny dude. We had him on the show. We actually did a live interview with him one time on the 2 Live Stews back in the day. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show right now. Real cool dude. The great Little John. He made my honorable mention. He's definitely Atlanta. He's from Atlanta, too. And Farnsworth Bentley made the list as well as honorable mentions. He's from Atlanta as well. We had him on the show, too, back in the day. But check this out. Did y'all know that Kelly Rowland was from Atlanta? Did y'all know that? Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child fame. She's actually from Atlanta. And listen to this name. I had no clue that this dude was from Atlanta. And it might have been one of those situations where he was born here and his parents moved when he was very, very small. Maybe it's one of those situations, or maybe his parents were military and they were here at that military base. I can't remember the name of the Fort Gordon, maybe it is. One of these bases that were here, and I think it subsequently closed down over the last couple of years. But did you know that Kanye West is from Atlanta? Huh? Kanye West was born in Atlanta. Yeah, shut up, studio audience. The man was born here. Give him a little bit of respect. But yeah, Kanye West was born in the ATL. I did not know that. I need to get some more recon on that. Like, I never heard that. You know, Kanye represents Chicago. It seems like he's from New York because he's so entrenched with Rockefeller and Jay-Z, so it seems like he's from New York. But he's definitely from Chicago. He claims Chicago, but his bio says that he was born in ATL, Georgia. Who would have thunk it? Never would have thunk that in a million years. Let me read a couple more of these messages on the chat line from Robert. Robert says, what's up? This is one of the guys that doesn't normally chime in on the chat. I really appreciate it, Robert. Make sure, if you can't chime in, do your brother a favor and just tell a person. Terrence, what's up? Listening from New York. What up, Terrence? Thank you so much, man. James Cooper, Baltimore in the house. Whatever happened to getting Ryan on once a week? Ryan's so busy during this time of the day. And I got to put in a request to him earlier to get him on the show. But I'll try to get Ryan on at some point this week. When we first started the show, we probably had him on every Friday for like the first 3 weeks. And then the next couple of times I wanted to get him on, he had to go on a field trip or he had to go speak somewhere. He was doing something. So we'll try to get him on this week. John, the company man. Okay, people, says Doug specified living people. I'm going to make my list of top 5 people born in ATL. Number 5, Ryan Cameron. Number 4, Ryan Seacrest. Number 3, Chris Tucker. Number 2, T.I. And number 1, Outkast as a duo. Yeah, if I just use people from ATL, obviously that would take Jermaine Dupri off the list, and that would add people like Chili, Kasim Reed, Ryan Cameron, those type of people as well. From KC, Tiger needs to call Butch Harmon and at least 10 of his old snow bunnies. Now that's funny. Yeah, and a lot of people have said that. That's what Tiger needs to do. He needs to get back to being Tiger, slinging that D Tiger, He needs to get back to being that Tiger Woods with the snow bunnies, as well as he needs to call back and go back to the basics, and that means Butch Harmon, and old swing coaches and old habits, and back to the foundation. From King 50, see, Doug, he said Rich was the king. I don't know what that means. Kiss my go to hell. Doug, we not letting that go. Pryor is number 1. Oh, and talking about the great Bruce Bruce, first person he mentioned talking about his top 5 comedians of all time, he mentioned Richard Pryor. And I totally get it. I understand. But that was my list, guys. From Pedro Spiver, we told Doug, Richard Pryor, number 1. Vince Wright, Pryor, number 1, Doug. Okay, all right, yeah. The great Bruce Bruce agreed with y'all that Richard Pryor should be number 1. And once again, we wasn't doing Bruce Bruce's list that day. We were doing my list. We were doing my list, all right? That's the thing you keep forgetting. We were doing my list. Yeah. Hey, man, thank y'all so much, man, for all of the love today and all of the chat. I really do appreciate it. Do I want to read any more? No, we don't have enough time to read more. We don't got enough time to read anymore. Yeah. Man, fun day. And this is how we do it every day. If you're a new listener, this is how we do it every single day, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the Doug Stewart Show. It's sports talk, but it's barbershop talk. It's guy talk. We coined that term, barbershop talk. I swear we did. And a lot of people take credit for it, but we coined the damn term. We did. And so that's what we get on this show, the Doug Stewart Show. That continues. That's right. Yes, sir. It continues. Man, had a lot of fun today. We'll do it again tomorrow on a Word on the Street Wednesday. A What's Up Wednesday. So do me a favor and tell at least one person. If you're a company out there and you'd like to partner with the Doug Stewart Show, we'd love to partner with you. Email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com, and let's do some business. Thank you, Tree, for all that you did today. Shouts out to Waterhead Walter, Dwayne Vasson, and Gerald Oliveri. Thank y'all so much for what you do. I really do appreciate it. Shouts out to the great Bruce Bruce. In the famous words of Too Short, let Bruce Bruce hit it. Yes, sir. And so we'll do it again tomorrow. Same Doug time, same Doug channel. Peace.